I'm ready.
Okay.
Ready.
Welcome to the second slap happy part of the Southern Baptist Convention. This is Bonnie talking, and I'm looking at Karen, who's holding her mic with her pinky in the air.
I'm very excited. I feel like a performer. I never get to hold the microphone, but I'm sitting in a car in my dad's garage. So this is where my recording studio is today.
Yeah. And I'm not, but I get to look at it. And it's delightful.
And I get to hold the card and put my pinky out. I was in the choir.
Yeah, we were all in the choir. But you were in handbells, so you win. You win every time. So for the listeners out there, I played a shit ton of tennis before, and now I've got these fun little blops on my face of like sun spots. So look away, I'm gruesome because, and Karen knows, but she hasn't seen it on vid. I had parts of my face lasered off, my nose. No, I played piles of tennis before, and it was always in the morning sun, and it was always on the south side. So I've got one here that I claim is my tennis sunspot, and this one here is my driving in a car sunspot. So then when he was lasering those, I was like, he's zapping other places of my face. So then it was like he was going with just a stick of fire. And I was like,
right.
I'm like, is that my face on fire smoking? He's like, uh-huh. I'm like, okay, thank you.
It must be satisfying to just like burn people and get paid a lot. I know.
I thought so too. And he had a guy who was the laser specialist in there with him. And I can only imagine what they talk about before they go in the room. You know, like, wait
so
till you
this
see
one was
this
playing tennis. So I'm going to make it look like a tennis ball hitter.
Yeah.
Which it does.
She's in denial about her age. She's claiming that it's tennis and driving. But we all know she drives on the right side of the car. Oh, God. Anyway, so it's been gruesome. But I just gave up caring after about a half an hour. You know, I was like, oh, I'm going to wear a mask and nobody will notice. And I'm like, no, I just really don't care. It's Florida. Half the people in my office come in with a Band-Aid in a random place on their face every few weeks.
Totally. Yep, that's Florida for you. Plus, if you wore the mask, you'd have to jack it up way on one side and like put a hair clip way up to hold it.
Or I could do one of those things that doesn't work, like the guys who look like they're criminals in the Wild West.
The Gators, yeah.
It's all like
the bandanas.
And it's always AV squad guys.
These AV, we're going hard after all of you.
So, so that's my week. I don't know how long this shit will last, but I kind of don't care because I'm getting this weird sympathy that I didn't expect to get from people.
Nice.
Including, I was sitting at a stoplight the other day and I could feel, you know what it is when you can feel someone staring at you. And I looked down and there was this little girl in the passenger seat of her dad's Porsche. And she was looking up at me and smiling. And when she saw me catch her eye, she waved. I'm like, aww. She's telling her dad, look at the spotted lady next to us in traffic.
Yep.
She's like, my mom always told me to be nice to people.
Look, Dad, a witch.
A witch, Ma. Oh my God. So that's my good times. Tell us about your week. It.
Well, it was pretty bad. I had to see your sunspots burned off. No, my week has been totally chill because I am over here taking care of my dad, and my dad went viral last December.
A picture
and one of the
him.
places, a picture. He's not on social media. He's not going to get on it. That's the end of that. But he went viral because my brother and I posted some pictures of him on his 90th birthday. Well, one of the places that participated in the virality was E! News. I guess it's just Entertainment News, or is it E! News?
I think it's E! Entertainment.
But what's the extra E stand for?
Well, there has to be some explanation. So it's E explanation entertainment exclamation point.
The E! News that made him go viral reposted him on Father's Day.
Aw.
Saying, we just want to give a wish to one of our favorite fathers we haven't forgotten about. So they put that up again, and I didn't even know till my friend was like, hey, look, and I'm like, oh no, because it was like crazy when it first happened. But this was a lot more manageable. Lots of people end up following me and then are highly disappointed immediately. But then they sent me little private messages because my name is attached to the post since I posted the pics of my dad, saying just like the sweetest things about, I haven't been able to get out of bed for weeks, but then I saw your dad or my dad recently died, just all these really sweet things. So
everybody has a story.
What?
Every single person out there has a story.
Absolutely.
And while you're drinking, I'm going to try not to say this, but you people send me your stories. They make me so happy. That Smurf thing is still cracking me up. I just think about it, Smurf aside. And that was a letter that we read a few episodes back about a church that had a burning ceremony, and these kids had to throw their beloved Smurfs in it.
Well, it's funny because I don't know why, but my younger daughter, she's about to turn 20 next week, which is insane. But when she was little, everything she wanted had to do with bodily harm. She wanted everything for her doll that would maim her doll, like a wheelchair, crutches, a cast. So she just came across something today while she's out, and she sent it to us. And it's the American Girl doll kit that comes with all this stuff if, you want to pretend that your doll has been injured, has crutches, has bandages.
But I guess in the hospital, if you've got bandages, it's kind of fun that your doll is going through the same shit you are.
Right. Even though it comes with
bandages kit. You're coming with me. Have you been to the American Doll store in New York?
Oh, yeah. I remember when I was there, and I seriously don't know if we got anything, but the person in front of us, they rung her up. It was just a mother. I don't know if her kids were there or not. And they're like, that'll be $730.
Oh,
and
my God.
What in...
Well, in case people don't know, and I think I went because I was with a friend who had a kid, they have a beauty salon.
Yes.
For the dolls.
For the dolls, because that's what we did. That's exactly. Now you reminded us. What we paid for was for her stupid doll to get its ears pierced.
When really, come on. How many needles and shit do you have around the house that you could have done that with?
Listen, this is official business.
Right.
And I told you about the couple I saw walking through one time, and the woman was like, they were in their 20s, but she's like, oh, and this is a this, and this is a that, and the blah, 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 blah. And then the guy goes, well, one day our kids will probably really like this too, or if we have kids. So they didn't have kids, but they, Disney adult.
One day.
American Girl doll style. All right.
Oh, my gosh.
Let's hit
Wait, I have two things to ask you first.
Okay.
Somewhere in something that you posted, somebody wrote back, see you at the pole. What does that mean? Is that a stripper thing?
Maybe. No, I was talking about, what are those things that when we went to church, they made us think was cool.
Yeah.
And gave us, this great swag that we're like, oh, yeah, we're part of that. Like the handbell choir, again.
Right.
And one was See You at the Pole, which I think it was right around the time we were maybe leaving high school, I think. But it was where the Christians would meet at the flagpole early in the morning on a certain day and pray for everyone.
Okay.
Because
I was so excited that it was a stripper pole.
Yeah, that's what it was. No.
Oh, it's so not as exciting as I hoped. Okay.
I'm sorry.
See You at the pole.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Couldn't just say flagpole to make it clear for everybody. Had to have it be lingo.
No.
Okay.
See You at the Pole sounds so much cooler. And it's like you can put that on a T-shirt. You can put it on a hat. But I was thinking that and short-term missions when we were talking about that. Like, those were the things where I didn't even... well, maybe I did. How it forms like a hierarchy in the youth group. If you can participate, like See at the Pole didn't cost any money. Mm-hmm. But, those who were brave enough and willing to come that early, like you
right.
looked at each other with this like, that's right, we're here.
So SBC part 2?
Yeah, first let's, everyone out there, we have a Facebook group that's just called Deconversion Therapy. You have to answer questions to get in, but we've had an influx of people coming and we love it. People were excited for when it got up to a certain number that the devil likes to use, but we all missed it. It went higher than that, and now everyone's sad. But it's a really great group. People can join it for support. I really don't let people in who, I hate to say, just say they're a Christian and then don't answer the other things, because I'm like, you got to give me more. And the other questions
are just so silly easy.
Yeah. And so it just makes me suspicious. So I'm like, nope.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of people reviewing our podcast, which is so appreciated. Please do that if you haven't. The main reason is, there are people finding us now that they aren't going to listen to us, but they're happy to go over there and give a 1 star and not say anything and,
Oh, wait, the people who are trying to hurt us in the name of Christ.
Correct.
Okay, that's fine.
That's it. No
that's
love
fine.
like Christian hate.
Christ hurt me a lot, so it's only fair that he keeps doing it.
And then, let's see, I put one
TikTok.
thing on Twitter. That was exciting. TikTok, I waste so much time on there. I cannot...
No, but
even tell you.
But you post videos. We don't want to talk about what you're watching.
It is fascinating. There's so much good content on there. And there's a really big and cool community going on of people like us. But I can tell you that we are the elder statesmen in this little group of people. Yeah. But, it's really fascinating and interesting. And always I'm reminding myself, nope, stay in my lane, as in there are just some people that are great scholars and lots of different stuff on there. But, we're on there. And Instagram. And once again, shout out to our friend Josh Harris. The other day he said, what are some accounts that you all like to follow when you're deconstructing? And quite a few people put ours. So that was super sweet.
That's
sweet. And
then
other people saw it on his, so they followed us. So that's really nice.
That's how it happens. It's not a perfect segue, but when you were talking about the younger people, this guy, Greg Thornbury, had some comments. And it has to do with the Southern Baptist Convention.
Well, let's get into it. Let's talk about where we left off in part 1. In part 1, you and I just blah-blahed our way through everything. But
I don't see how part 2 is going to be different, even though you said to keep it lean and tight.
But that's because I'm in a car in my dad's garage. But we ended on Russell Moore's leak letter. So he used to be in the Southern Baptist Convention, and he decided to leave, and he had written a letter about how the Southern Baptists weren't really living up to what they should be in regard to sexual assault in the church and racism. And that leaked right before everyone was gathering in Nashville for the Southern Baptist Convention a few weeks ago. And yeah, that's interesting. But we have not landed on being at the Southern Baptist Convention, so come with me. Let me paint you a picture, Bonnie. You fly Spirit Airlines because the word spirit is not only cheap, but you somehow relate it to God saying, this is how ye shall go. You land and you come into the Nashville airport, which you are first welcomed by Carrie Underwood's voice saying,
Were you going to
"Welcome
say
to
underwear?
Nashville."
Were you going to say underwear?
Yes, I was. Yeah. And you see all these other like country music things all around. Go down the escalator, go to your baggage claim, but then after 30 minutes, they say, no, go to a different one. And that happens about 4 more times. But you get to your hotel, then...
They reroute your baggage?
Well, they're always like, meh, 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 and then the sign changes and you see people running to a different one. But that's nothing new.
Like it's the bell ringing in high school letting you out for lunch.
Right,
Hurry!
except it just keeps
Our baggage
going.
won't be there if we don't run.
It keeps going and going. And then you arrive downtown Nashville and you are taken aback. You think
By what?
This is the head of where the Southern Baptist Convention resides and where they're doing the conference. And all you see are lots and lots of women of all different shapes and sizes in jean mini skirts and cowboy boots. And they're all there.
Are those in the convention center?
They're laced all around.
Or that's just Nashville?
That's Nashville right now, especially with the bachelorette parties, which you'll just see up and down. They ride in these open air trucks, that are designed that you can rent, or these pedicab bars where you sit and you pedal, and there's a bartender. So they're just all up and down the whole place. There's probably 10 a night.
Describe those a little, because I think it's like a rectangle, like a Lego shape, and some people sit on one side of the bar and some on the other. And the whole idea that you have to pedal to make this thing work is very offensive to the idea.
Very. And
of drinking and having fun.
And it's always a guy bartender. He's serving up the stuff in the middle. But I'm thinking, it can't really be only pedals, because there's got to be people
powered by pedals.
Right. There's people that have got to be like, no, I'm not doing it. And then all the traffic is stuck. So I'm not really sure how that works. But my thing that I'd be worried about, unless they hook up a belt around the people and sort of click them into the bar. Yeah. I mean, they would just fall off.
Open
but there's
on each side. It's like a Jeep with no doors.
Right. And then there's or like a trolley. Yeah.
I would feign a leg injury and put a cast on and be like, I'm sorry, I can't pedal for your fucking party.
And they're like, that says American Girl Doll Store on it. But there's another one that is, it reminds me of what's called like a tuk-tuk in Asia, where it's, you got the head of the truck, and then it's sort of an open truck where you can see out of and you sit. And anyway, there's all these different things for bachelorette parties. But I don't know if you looked or clicked if you don't mind clicking right here, Bonnie, to see the pictures of some of the people at the Southern Baptist Convention. I think it's going to be it's going to be a nice refresher. I want you to look at a few pictures and, one, be triggered, but two, like, especially ones of the crowd or the congregation
I like this guy's
or
shirt.
the whatever they
It's an
are.
untuck it kind of scenario, and it looks really good on him. So I will give him that. What's his name?
Well, that's good.
J.D. Greer. I like his shirt.
Yeah, that's
it goes well
I
with
think
the jacket,
outgoing
but it's
president. He's cash.
He's cash, but it looks good, that untucked shirt. Oh my God! Here's a sticker somebody has on their chest that says "Stop CRT." People,
so that's
anyway.
critical race theory.
Yeah.
That was my TikTok the other day, because there's this dumbass on TikTok who's like, critical race theory is negative. It's right there in the title. It's critical of race. And I'm like, kill me, because you've killed the education system.
By the way, it's a sea.
I was just going to show you.
It's a sea of pasty white people and tanned white people.
Very pasty.
Whitey McWhite.
What sort of got me was the picture, and then you and I can't see the same thing, but it's the crowd praising, singing, doing something, and their hands are up in the air.
Yeah.
And it's such a far thing from what you and I grew up with, where I don't know if you remember, but God is the same yesterday, today, and he will be tomorrow. Yet, Baptists didn't raise their hands then, and they didn't want to, and they were very against it, and now they are.
Okay, here's one of a guy on his knees with his hands open and his head bowing down. So they're praying. Like you can't pray standing up. Oh, yeah, they're the hands in the air. Like they don't care.
They don't. They don't. So that, to me, I was like, I know that this was happening in the Southern Baptist Church, but on such a large scale and in like this, convention type setting, I was pretty surprised, because Southern Baptists are so, tradition and respect, and God gets our best, and tuck in your shirts.
Events like this make me kind of respect cult members more than I did before, because at least cult members are admitting they don't have an answer and they're looking for somebody and they found it in the cult leader. But these people all are like a giant cult where they think they know everything and they're still in the cult.
Right.
But it's this mystery God, and their leaders are just kind of criminals sometimes, not all the time.
Right. Yeah, and the clothes aren't good. I mean, this is the worst fashion of all the denominations, and I am throwing in Amish and Mennonite. That's right. I'm going all the way. I listened to, we're going to get into that they had a runoff for president, which is very exciting. And I listened to Brad Ornishi's podcast, which is Straight White American Jesus. And he's really good. And he had one of the journalists who was there, and they were reporting on, okay, what's the deal? What's going on? Who is running for president? And so there was this one guy that was running, and he's who the conservatives really wanted. And let's face it, everyone's conservative.
You mean the super conservative conservatives?
Correct.
Right.
Yeah. And then the guy who won is a flaming liberal. He's gay.
Not.
They keep calling him progressive. His name's Ed Litton. But it's not our progressive. It's not what anyone outside of that building would think of.
Yeah,
as
and I even
progressive.
saw him on a video going, I'm not a moderate, I'm conservative. And he's defending it. And he's like, don't call me that. He was trying to, rein the interviewer in. It may have been Aaron Burnett or something like that. But
yeah. I don't know who, I guess they were just doing it in relative terms. But he only won by, I think, 2 points. So it was almost like this whole Trump-Biden thing, once again, reflected.
Yeah. I mean, their shorthand is either you're with us or you're against us. So
Right.
I think he's trying to squelch that a little bit. But, okay, so there was this article in Vox about the Southern Baptist meeting. And the guy who wrote it talked to this man named Greg Thornbury, who's a scholar of evangelical Christian philosophy. And he went to Southern Baptist Theological Seminary. And he taught. So he even is the one who tipped me off and said to see this guy as a moderate is a mistake. And he says the organization is completely conservative and will remain so for the foreseeable future. But he mentioned something that I thought was interesting. Okay, so he thinks that the Southern Baptist Convention is in a long-term numbers crisis. So I like when we get numbers about that. It says they've lost 2 million members since 2006.
Yes.
And 2020 saw the lowest number of baptisms. Like, that's how they keep tally. The lowest number of baptisms since the Spanish influenza pandemic after World War I, which makes sense. No one was getting baptized.
Because it was COVID. Right.
So he says that that's partially related to the organization's political conservatism, and it struggles with race and sexual abuse. So then he gets into the youth, and he says that they're going to church if their parents force them to, but he says the battle has been lost on the intellectual front and on the emotional front. And they're having serious retention problems. They're declining in numbers of people who identify with the Southern Baptist Convention. So he was calling it a crisis. And
it definitely is.
Yeah, and this Ronnie Floyd guy said at the convention, baptism of teenagers is down 40%. So he asked everybody, raise your hand if you were saved when you were a teenager, and most people's hands went up. So he thinks they're panicking.
Well, they are. And I think the whole deal with the president and the ultra-conservative and all this is they really see a schism, and they're worried that the church or that the Southern Baptist Convention is going to break off. So 4 black churches left over racial things in this last year, I think since just like the beginning of this year. And then there were 2 in February that were thrown out for their stance on LGBT people.
People who are marginalized. This guy goes on to say something about Generation Z has TikTok, Instagram, and they're talking. Like, this is their organization. They're talking, and they're debunking the claims that people like Southern Baptists or evangelicals make about gay people, about unwed mothers, about sexuality, trans people, liberals, and people who have abortions. And these kids, well, Generation Z, whatever age they are, they're doing the fact-checking in real time like nobody's ever done before. So, like, it's a definite threat, and they're reinforced. They are reinforced, he says, by their heroes. Whereas in the 60s, it was like Bob Dylan. Now he says it's Taylor Swift talking to homophobic right-wing evangelical people in "You Need to Calm Down." I just love that name of a song.
Yeah, my daughters are very much like that. Like, they know anything that's going on and any hot take on it and what the facts are. And they're always saying, did you know that? Blah, blah, blah. Because even though my husband and I, and probably you, look up our information, they have quicker access through the channels that they all are in to like all these things that back things up. So what do you know? Young people looking up facts.
I know. And I mean, to me, the whole church, whatever religion you are, they need to figure out a way to be inclusive if they want to survive.
Right. I do not want them to survive, but I agree. And I think that's what all these people who are, quote, deconstructing, that's why it's this whole huge movement, which I hate to call it a movement, but it is. You know,
it's like an unmovement. That's not right either,
right.
But it's like
a constipation, which is the opposite of the movement.
It's more like a collapse. Like if that was a movement, this is then just relaxing and collapsing into knowledge.
Right. Absolutely. Well, the interesting thing, things that I came across on Twitter were fascinating because this Ed Litton guy, supposedly on his...
He likes that.
But I think I like him. I don't know if I do. Anyway, on his own church website, supposedly right when he was elected, there was one word that was different and that he maybe changed it because someone caught it. I don't know. But it was tweeted out. Someone wrote, it took being elected SBC president for Ed to remove the heretical sentence in his church belief statement. I wonder how optimistic pastors will start to spin this with a laughy face because people are already being dicks to each other. And it really was, what we believe. God is one, the creator and ruler of the universe, blah, blah, blah. And I think just one word was different.
Yeah. And they're angry with him about that?
Oh, yeah. They're angry and they started infighting.
The more I think about it, the trauma that some of these people in churches have to be subject to, like I sent you something the other day that we put in the newsletter, which we should talk about too. But in one day, there was it was just a big day for church news. And there was a guy, of course, in Tennessee. Sorry, that's yours this time. Next time it'll be Florida. Don't worry. But he was a youth pastor, and they were accusing him of rape. And first of all, the kids accusing him. That's one level of trauma. But then it ripples out into all of the kids who were in youth group. And now they're going to have to remember that the person they trusted had that accusation against him.
Right. And they're going to know, like, hey, this has been known for a long time and they never did anything, or they handled it wrong, or all that is, yeah, absolutely.
And that one that I texted you about was new and not even what they were talking about in the letters that leaked before the Southern Baptist Convention.
Oh, totally.
Like, guys, you don't get to use the name of Jesus and then just do whatever you want, but it seems like that's what's happening.
I have been trying to find statistics on, like, what positions have the most molesters or sexual offenders in it, because I am sure it has to be ministry. So here's one of the tweets that I found right away, because everyone's starting to get mad at each other. I don't know. I assume it's because of the election, but someone whose name is called Bible is For Me wrote, "Our family feels like we have to leave SBC now. We can't donate money to those who don't speak out against CRT, abortion, same-sex marriage, etc." I'm like, good. One less on their number books. Go ahead. Go to Independent Baptist wackos. But then another...
Oh, go ahead.
And then another guy wrote, "Attention Southern Baptists. Thought, spelled THOT, is not short for thinking thought. thought has a specific meaning. So you might want to curb references to SBC 21 thoughts.
What does it mean? Is it meet you at the stripper pole?
No, a thought is that hoe over there. So there were like a bunch of schools at one point would have all like these underground lists, and it'd be like the Raiders' thoughts, or
Oh my God.
and it would just be all these names of people they thought
We
were.
had some SBC thoughts.
We did, and it was
me.
us.
With my shorts down a little bit above my knee.
That's right. The Bermuda shorts.
Okay, so at one point, this guy was talking about the 1976 Newsweek article, the year
Who's
of the
this guy?
evangelical. I don't know. The guy who wrote that article in Vox, this Greg Thornbury, Zach Beesham.
Oh, okay.
And so I put the picture in our document so you could see this guy in a fantastic leisure suit with a giant collar and a little bit of chest hair poking through. And he looks like Brian Wilson.
Yep, he does.
And somebody, I guess it's Jimmy Swaggart, or I don't know who the hell, with his hand on his head and his pointy finger in the air, and it says, "Born Again." And it's the same font that they used to make a lot of bumper stickers out of for Christians.
Yeah. So
like,
this is...
I found it. What'd you find? And you're supposed to go up to somebody in a car and go, "Excuse me, what did you find?" "Oh, Jesus."
Let me tell you about Jesus.
Let me tell you.
So this was October 1976 cover.
Yeah.
And it is, it's unsettling. Very bright.
Okay, so what they bring up in the article, or about the article, is that earlier in the 70s, the 6 seminaries in the Southern Baptist Convention had moderate faculty. And let's see, the Ethics and Religious Liberty Commission was pro-abortion. And so
That's what I heard. I can't even imagine.
And
like,
so,
it makes me go, no, that can't be true, because I can't imagine it.
because it's pre our time.
Yeah, and it's pre these fascists.
Yep.
Yes,
So
okay.
a Southern Baptist leader, Paige Patterson, and a lot of the pastors said this should not be. And they realized that the mechanism to change everything was to elect a president of the SBC. And the president has the power to establish committees and appoint people in the convention. And if you can appoint people to the committees and trusteeships, then you can change all the institution. So I was just Googling our old youth minister the other day, and guess what he was? An appointee to the SBC, appointed by Jack Grimm.
Who was our former pastor and president of the SBC at one point.
And he's now a pastor of a big church in Texas, which
Correct.
I can't remember the name of it, but that's okay.
Oh, I can.
It
Yeah,
probably has the word wood in it.
it does.
Okay. So then this article talks about the rise and fall of Jerry Falwell's group, the Moral Majority. But what it says was that Jerry Falwell, who had a lot of sway, senior, he made it clear to Southern Baptists that if they voted in Ronald Reagan, they would have access to the White House. So, that seems to be when that kind of started. And they were like, you know what? We're going to get bigger.
And that's exactly, yep. And that's the only thing that Jerry Falwell Sr.'s son did similar, is that he did the same thing with Trump. He's the one that got everyone in the bandwagon and got him in. And it's really for just their policies.
Access and proximity and I don't know.
Dumbness and meanness. Well, I looked today I'm like, okay, let me see what's going on Twitter with, the SBC hashtag. And it's just a bunch of people saying, okay, guys, we've all got to stop fighting. Okay, Twitter is on fire. All this stuff. I'm like, oh, what have I missed now? And it's a bunch of poop about nothing. It was that people were accusing the new president. It looks like they have gone back, looked at everything they can to find bad things about him. So they're like, you preached something in 2020
Oh my God.
that was nearly the same as what this other guy preached. And they put the two sermons up next to each other, and they were like, oh my God, he needs to resign, blah, blah, blah. So then I saw Ed Litton, who they're accusing, and it's the new president. He had to write a statement. And the statement was, yes, I'm going to say it much more Karen-like.
What?
Yes, I did do something almost exactly like this other guy because I listened to that guy's sermon. I liked it. I got in touch with him, and I said, can I use that? And so the guy he borrowed from also had to put out a statement saying, yes, he contacted me. Yes, he did this and that. So anyway, people, were accusing plagiarism and this and that. But most of it, you could go there now and you're just going to see people saying, guys, this is why no one wants to be involved with this because everyone is not being unified, and it's the losing team trying to get, messed up and find dirt on the other, and the, quote, winning team saying it's time for unity.
Yeah. Oh,
It's
well, which is a lot like Rudy Giuliani's kid the last week talking about how the judicial system shouldn't be politicized. Like, really? Well, go in a time machine and tell your dad that.
I know. Oh, his dad.
Well, this is the
mess.
danger of the whole internet, as we know. And, you can find anything, take a snippet, not know the whole story, and then force these people, like hijack them with their own facts into having to make a statement. Like, to me, that's offensive because it's wasting their time.
Right. And it totally. And, there's so many times when I hear stories on the news or something comes out that I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so scandalous or whatever it is. And I never hear the resolve of it or if it was taken back. Like a lot of people never heard about the person who said vaccines cause autism, was lying, and he got, disenfranchised from medicine and all that. But yeah, this is the same thing. They just do enough to get all the shit stirred up like we do and then not back it up with anything correct like we do. And that's,
like we do.
That's where we end up.
I don't care for that insinuation.
Well, let's just get on a bachelorette party. Pedal bus with both our legs, 4 casts, just 4 straight leg casts.
So when you have a bachelorette party and your friends are from church, is there that one person that brings the straw with the penises?
Yeah, that's the one that they're praying for, I'm sure. But they're like, oh my gosh, okay, we'll laugh a little bit because everything in marriage is okay. Stick it in my purse. Right.
Put that away. I don't want any pictures of this. My mom's going to see this. Oh, my mom's here at the party. God. So what else? Should we wrap it up there?
Let's wrap it up because I'm so glad I'm not a Southern Baptist. I mean, I started drifting away from that denomination anyway. And even the Southern Baptists are drifting away from it because a lot of their churches changed their name. Like our old one is now Family Church and other ones are blah, blah Community Church.
You're right.
Yeah, a lot of them took the Baptist part out because they were trying to Weight Watchers or KFC it and try and rebrand themselves.
Well, I didn't realize that that's why it was going on a couple years ago when I went to a little reunion with people from our Baptist college, from which I did not graduate, but I went to the reunion dinner. And they were like, oh, we go to a family church. And of course, my smart ass genius comment was like, where's the adult church? That's what I would like to go to.
Well, if you went to the Southern Baptist Convention, send us a letter. Let us know. There was so much that I started looking at that I was like, I don't even want to see this. I'm so sick of these people who they're living in a glass castle. They have no idea that they do. It's not about them losing numbers for any other reason. Yeah, exactly. For any other reason than nobody wants to be there. No one believes your bullshit anymore. No one thinks that you're humble. There's just nothing about it appealing at all. It's just, women who wear Meryl Norman cosmetics and, men who like their biscuits and just not interested. We're all done with it.
All right.
Is there anyone I haven't offended? Anyone?
Is that still a brand?
Yeah, they even have stores.
Wow.
But please send in, your true story, and we have a letter sode coming up soon. And we also have some more fun episodes. And follow us on social media.
Yeah, SBC Thoughts, let us know.
Goodbye.
Oh, no. Are we going to be in trouble for that?
Don't be a Southern Baptist. Bye.